You wake up tired, even after a full night's sleep. It's not your body, it's something deeper. A subtle tension that never quite lets go. You do everything right. You meet deadlines. You give more than is asked of you. You listen more than you speak. You self-criticize before anyone else has the chance. And still, something inside whispers, it's not enough. You may even receive compliments, recognition, love, but they slip through your hands like water. Nothing stays. Nothing holds. And the central paradox is this. The very force that made you functional, admirable, and strong is the same that silently drains you. What once protected you, the constant effort, the inner vigilance, the need to prove your worth, now consumes you in silence. You don't feel like you've failed. You feel like you are the failure. And so you keep going. A little further, a little better, a little stronger. Always believing that in the next version of yourself, you'll finally be enough to rest. But that moment never arrives. Because the problem isn't how much you do. It's the place inside from which you do it. This pattern doesn't emerge out of nowhere. It forms early, when the nervous system is still learning what love, safety, and belonging feel like. In psychology, this is often tied to an emotional neglect schema. It doesn't necessarily mean physical absence or overt abuse. Sometimes, the wound comes from what didn't happen. The emotional support that was inconsistent. The love that seemed conditional. The child learns something subtle and devastating. Who I am isn't enough. I need to become something to deserve love. Then comes hypervigilance, a constant state of monitoring, both internal and external. You start reading environments, tones of voice, micro-expressions, not out of curiosity, but out of emotional survival. Your nervous system adapts. Rest begins to feel dangerous. Mistakes, unforgivable. Spontaneity, risky. Many also develop a pattern of avoidant or anxious functional attachment. You learn to depend on yourself, yet long for validation. You want closeness, but fear being truly seen. Because being seen means being judged, and possibly rejected. Even the brain's default mode network, responsible for the internal narrative, starts to revolve around comparison, self-criticism, and anticipatory failure. You don't just have feelings of inadequacy. You organize your identity around them. This is not a personality trait. It's an adaptation. But every adaptation comes with a price. The cost here is high and silent. It's the invisible grief of someone who never felt allowed to simply be. You sacrifice authenticity for acceptance. You trade being for doing. You trade feeling for functioning. As Carl Jung said, the greatest burden that a child carries is the unlived life of the parents. But there is another, equally heavy burden, the unlived life of yourself. The core fear here is not failure. It's emotional abandonment. The idea that if you stop, rest, or fail, you'll be left behind. This fear seeps into everyday moments. Simple actions become covert tests. Rest brings guilt. Receiving love feels suspicious. Being praised triggers anxiety. What if they find out I'm not all that? You live in emotional debt, always promising that after the next achievement, you'll allow yourself to live. But the finish line keeps moving. And the cruelest part, no one sees this struggle. Because, on the outside, you look fine. Functional, capable, strong. Inside, there's existential exhaustion. These patterns don't disappear with age. They mature. You may recognize this in various areas of your life. In relationships, you give too much. You tolerate emotional crumbs. Or you keep your distance to avoid being a burden. In your career, you become indispensable, but rarely satisfied. Success never quiets the sense of fraudulence. In your self-esteem, it fluctuates with your performance. Good days elevate you. Neutral days bring you down. In your boundaries, saying no feels selfish. Prioritizing yourself feels risky. In emotional regulation, you rationalize feelings, minimize hurts, postpone needs. In internal identity, you define yourself by what you do, not by what you feel or want. All of this is coping mechanisms, not defects. They emerged to keep you connected, safe, accepted. The beginning of unlearning isn't about fixing yourself, it's about observing. Observing the internal voice without automatically obeying it. Noticing when the body goes into survival mode. Naming the pattern without merging with it. Awareness doesn't heal everything, but it creates space. And space is where change begins. Healing here isn't about becoming someone confident overnight. It's something deeper and more honest. It starts with reparenting the inner child. Learning to offer yourself what was missing: validation, safety, permission to fail. It involves shadow work, embracing the parts of you that you've tried to compensate for or hide. Shame loses its power when seen with compassion. It includes nervous system regulation, breathing, pausing, grounding yourself in the body, teaching your organism that the present is safe, even without performance. And, perhaps the hardest part, choosing kindness over survival mode. Even when the old voice insists you need to prove something. As Rilke wrote, live the questions now. Perhaps you will then, gradually, without even noticing it, live along some distant day into the answer. The goal isn't to be fixed. You were never broken. The goal is to become whole. To unite who you had to be with who you've always been. If this video resonated with you, share it with someone who carries more than they should. And if you want to continue this journey of awareness and integration, subscribe. Not to become better, but to, little by little, return home to yourself.